Can't be any less classy than that.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order this December 15th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Kiowa Island Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm Frank Cassidy, the board chair. In addition to myself, members hearing the case today are Jay Lewis, Morris Hannon, Larry Rosenfeld, um, Lynn O'Leary, Phil Adams, who is attending virtually, and myself. Staff members present are Daniel Vincent from our planning staff. John Taylor, our planning director, should be here shortly. And also virtually today is Mac McQuillan, our town attorney. Our case rulings from this and any BZA meeting are available for public review and inspection during normal business hours at the town hall. Since our meeting is being conducted virtually via Zoom, please be reminded that in order to obtain a clean and clear record for Phil and Mac and others listening live, it's important that all participants not speak over one another. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you and you can come to the mic. This time I'd like to explain the workings of the BZA. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial body established to interpret and grant relief from the zoning ordinance. The Board of Zoning Appeals has jurisdiction over three types of cases: appeals, variances, and special exceptions. Appeals are heard regarding administrative actions or decisions by the zoning administrator or staff. Variances may be granted when strict application of the zoning ordinance would cause an unnecessary hardship. This board's actions must be based on specific standards as contained in the SC Local Government Planning Enabling Act of 1994 and the Town of Kiowa Island zoning ordinance. Special exceptions allow the board to permit uses if certain conditions are as contained in the zoning ordinance are met. A simple majority vote of the quorum present is required to grant a variance or to overturn the decision of the zoning administrator in an appeal, or to grant a special exception. Because today's hearing is a public fact-finding meeting, we are in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act and SC Code 6-29-70. 15 days prior to this hearing, an announcement was printed in the Post and Courier. A sign was posted on or near the designated property, and a notice was mailed to the applicant or representative, to residents within 500 feet, and to parties of interest. Persons, organizations, and the news media that have requested declarations of our meeting have also been notified. The Freedom of Information Act does not require notification of anyone other than those people that I just mentioned. Our purpose today is for interested parties to be heard in order to assist the board in gathering evidence pertinent to each case. If members of the BZA feel the need for further information to clarify the case, the board has the authority to subpoena witnesses. In addition to your testimony, our board has been presented written information submitted to the staff by the applicant or their agent for the case. This information is now considered to be evidence and is entered into the permanent record of this body. It's assumed that it is complete, true, and accurate. Also, we've been presented data assembled by the staff for the purpose of clarifying the location and the effect on surrounding property. Our board is empowered to approve with conditions, or deny your request. In granting a variance, the BZA may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, and other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to protect established property values in the surrounding areas or to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. We are also authorized to defer a case should there be a need to obtain additional information. If an applicant's request is approved for a special exception, a variance, or an appeal of a decision by the zoning administrator, they must go to the Town of Kiowa Island to apply for permits. Variances and special exceptions granted by the BZA are valid for 12 months after this meeting. However, if an applicant's request is disapproved and they wish to appeal the decision of the board concerning their case, appeals must be addressed to the circuit court. SC Code 6-29-820 states that the appeal must be filed by the applicant within 30 days after the decision of the board is mailed to them. Failure to file an appeal within this time frame deprives the court of the jurisdiction to hear this matter. For the case, staff will present information, the applicant will present their case, and we'll hear from any others who may wish to speak. Be reminded to direct comments to the board, not the applicant or other speakers. To expedite the meeting, I'll ask all persons who intend to speak today to stand, and Mac will administer the oath.
If you could, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Thank you, Mac.
Welcome.
I'll now call case BZA 25-000017 at 44B Eugenia Avenue. First, we'll hear from staff, then the applicant, then others, if any. All speakers should state your name and current address for the record before presenting testimony. I'll limit comments by the public to 3 minutes, and the applicant will have a chance for rebuttal if necessary. Dan, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the BZA, we will have one case today. That case is case number BZA 25-000017. The property is located at 44B Eugenia Avenue. A TMS number is 209-05-00-101. Subject property is located in the R1 residential zoning district. And the variance request is a request for the reduction of the required 10-foot side setback for approximately 22 square feet for a proposed generator stand. The applicant is Richardson Jerome J. Jr. Trust, and our representative here is Ben Damier with Classic Remodeling and Construction. The lot size is 13,875 square feet, or about 0.32 acres. Town of Kiawah Island's land use planning and zoning ordinance allows a maximum lot coverage of 33% on the subject property. The ordinance also requires a front setback of 25 feet, side setbacks of 10 feet, and a rear setback of 25 feet. Here is a zoning aerial view of the subject property. Again, to reiterate, the subject property is in the R1 residential zoning district. Surrounding properties within the vicinity of 44B Eugenia are also in that R1 residential zoning district. The property adjacent to the east of the subject property is undeveloped, and the subject property is not subject to review by the Kiawah Island Architectural Review Board. Here's a GIS aerial view of the subject property. The applicant's proposed plans include a generator stand on the right side of the home, inside the right side setback. The proposed generator stand extends approximately 3 feet, 9.5 inches into that required 10-foot side setback. The distance from the generator stand and the property line is approximately 6 feet, 2.5 inches. And the dimensions of the proposed generator stand are approximately 7 feet by 2 feet and 10.5 inches. The total encroachments into the required right side setback is approximately 22 square feet. There are no other proposed changes to the building footprint. Proposed lot coverage is 24.4%. Staff took a site visit on November 25th. Here are a few pictures from the site visit. The front of the property. Adjacent properties across the street and to the left of the subject property. This is the empty lot to the right of the subject property. The rear and the right side of the subject property. We'll move on to the variance approval criteria. Criteria A, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. There may be extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the property due to the existing building footprint and the required safety clearances for the proposed generator. Per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, the existing home structure and elevated design severely limit options for placing a generator that maintains necessary distance from the structure itself, especially in a side yard setting. The installation of the platform and generator at the proposed location is the minimum necessary distance to meet these non-negotiable safety and operational standards while fitting within the limited available area. Criteria B, these conditions do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity. Conditions may be unique to the subject property and may not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity. Existing structures in the vicinity may or may not have similar encroachments based on current setbacks. The applicant has provided a letter of support from the adjacent neighbor at 46 Eugenia, which is that undeveloped property, which is directly adjacent to the proposed generator stand. Per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, while other properties on Eugenia may possess similar building setbacks, the accommodation of these specific home floor plans, its fixed orientation on the lot, and the critical need to comply with essential generator safety clearances creates a unique and exceptional constraint on the utilization of the available side setback area. Criteria C, because of these conditions, the application of this ordinance to the particular piece of property would prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The application of this ordinance to 44B Eugenia would prohibit the construction of the proposed generator stand, as it does encroach into that 10-foot required side setback. However, it would not unreasonably restrict the utilization. Per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, prohibition of essential infrastructure, strict adherence would prevent the installation of the essential backup power infrastructure, unreasonably restricting the utilization of the property. Relocating the generator to a position that fully complies to the 10-foot side setback would either, number one, place it too close to the main dwelling or utility lines, violating safety and fire codes, or number two, place it in an entirely impractical or unserviceable location, rendering the installation infeasible. Criteria D, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent properties or to the public good, and the character of the zoning district will not be harmed by the granting of this variance. The authorization of this variance may not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent properties or the public good. The proposed generator stand is positioned on the right side of the home. The neighboring property to the right has provided that letter of support. And per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, the requested variance of 3 feet 9.5 inches is minimal and is necessary to accommodate a structure that is approximately 22 square feet in size. The generator will be mounted on a stand and fully screened on all 3 exposed sides with a 1x6 painted screen to minimize any immediate visual impact. Furthermore, the homeowner is working with a licensed landscape architect and will be providing a detailed planting plan to further conceal the visual and auditory presence of the generator on the lot. The homeowner also owns the adjacent property, which is Lot 2, that 46 Eugenia, and has submitted a letter confirming review of the plans and explicitly stating that they have no issue with the proposed variance, ensuring no detriment to the closest neighbor. Modern generators are designed to operate at acceptable noise levels, and will only run during power loss events or short automated weekly testing periods. The installation of a reliable backup power enhances the safety and resilience of the home, which is consistent with the public good, particularly during island-wide storm events. Criteria E, the BZA shall not grant a variance the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land, or to change the zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. Granting of this variance would not allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in this zoning district, extend physically a non-conforming use of land, or change the zoning district boundaries. Now, per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, this variance request seeks to permit a residential backup generator, which is a use already permitted in the residential zoning district. It does not seek to establish a new use, extend a non-conforming use, or alter any zoning boundaries. Criteria F, the fact that the property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted may not be considered grounds for a variance. BZA may not consider profitability when considering this variance request. Per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, the needs for this variance is based purely on functional necessity and emergency preparedness for the existing residential use, not for economic gain or profitability. Criteria G, the need for this variance shall not be the result of the applicant's own actions. The need for the variance may not be the result of the applicant's own actions. Per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, the factors limiting placement, the existing dwelling location, lot size, and necessary utility clearances are conditions that predate this application. The desire to install backup power is a reasonably and now standard residential improvement on Kiawah Island, and the variance is required solely to meet the essential mandated safety and operational clearances at the only viable location. Criteria H, granting of this variance will not be contrary to the public or neighborhood interests, nor will not adversely affect other properties in the vicinity, nor interfere with the harmony, spirit, intent, and purposes of these regulations. Variance, if granted, may not be contrary to the public or neighborhood interest, nor adversely affect other properties. The proposed generator stand is located in the right side of the residence. Per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, the minor screen encroachment on the side setback is situated between 2 structures and will not interfere with light, air, or access to the neighboring property. The applicant's dual ownership of the adjacent lot guarantees neighborhood harmony. The project represents a responsible improvement to the property, supporting safety and livability without compromising the residential character or the intent of the zoning regulations, which aim to protect quality of life and aesthetics of the town. And criteria I, granting of the variance does not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan or the purposes of this ordinance. Granting of the variance may not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan or the purposes of this ordinance. Per the applicant's letter of intent, quote, the installation of a backup power aligns with the comprehensive plan's goal of providing adequate infrastructure and enhancing community resilience, especially in a coastal environment prone to power disruption. The variance supports orderly development by allowing necessary safety infrastructure under conditions where strict compliance is impractical, all while mandating aesthetic screening measures to mitigate visual impact. The BZA may approve with conditions, or deny case number BZA 25-000017. Again, this is a variance request for the reduction of the required 10-foot side setback by approximately 22 square feet for a proposed generator stand located at 44B Eugenia Avenue. And that TMS number is 209-0500-101. Should the Board of Zoning Appeals consider approval of this variance request, planning staff has requested one condition of approval, and that is that applicant shall submit a landscape plan to be approved by the planning director, providing appropriate screening for the proposed encroachment. At this time, the applicant has not provided a landscape plan. This concludes staff's presentation. Are there any questions from the board?
Dan, thank you, Dan. Questions?
Just clarification that this is at 44B, but they also own the adjacent property at 46. So
Yes.
obviously they wouldn't have any issues.
That's correct. They own both properties, and then I can have the applicant speak furthermore on that if they'd like.
But they're still zoned separately, correct? One can be sold off without the other.
Correct.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dan? Okay, thank you, Dan. Sir, you're speaking for the applicant?
I don't have a whole lot to say. It's pretty.
State your name.
I'm sorry. Yep. My name is Ben Danmeyer. I'm representing Classic Remodeling. I'm an architectural draftsman for them. And like I was saying, I don't have a whole lot to really go over or add to this, other than I can answer any questions you guys might have of me. But yes, the homeowner does own the adjacent lot, and they have provided a letter that says they're comfortable with what they're doing on their other lot. So no issues with that. But yeah, we wanted to get them a generator stand. They really wanted one for power outage events. And looking at the site plan, we really felt like this was the only suitable location to do it. And felt like there wasn't, it's not a huge encroachment. So going through, working through with the generator people, these are kind of their clearances that they need for their generator to work. And yeah, like we said, it's 22 square feet of encroachment. And we have obviously the neighbor approval. So we were hoping this could be approved by the board.
Can you explain to me, well, I'll ask you, did you consider locating the generator stand just around the corner on the rear of the property where it wouldn't have required
We
a
did.
variance at all?
Yes, sir, we did. And that would have worked, except there is windows right on the back side of that structure there that they would have encroached. I mean, they would have blocked the views. So the homeowner really didn't want to do that. So she was kind of pushing to have it be on this corner instead.
Other questions?
Yeah, can I just,
Yes, Frank,
Yes,
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Just to clarify the record, and it may just be a technical point. I mean, the owner of the subject property is a trust of which the neighboring lot owner is the co-trustee. So it's not identical ownership of the two, but I understand it's the same family, but it's not, as has been stated, the same ownership. If I read the documents correctly.
I believe that's the case. That's correct.
can I just ask, in regards to what Frank was talking to you about? I didn't see what windows it was going to obstruct the way that porch was. Do you have any back photos of the back of the house that you can just?
Put up that photo, Dan.
It shows.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So there is, but if you build it slightly lower than the window, it wouldn't necessarily encroach on anything, correct? I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm
No,
just trying to
no.
figure out what your reasoning was here.
Sure.
It just seems to me, in addition to what she's saying, that the house is so up against the 10-foot line.
Mhm.
And just because it's common ownership now doesn't mean a year from now they may decide to sell that off. The generator really is intruding in a very narrow alley that could be, I mean, if the other homeowner the new homeowner who decides to build on that unbuilt lot decides to shimmy up against their 10-foot, siding, then I think it's really an intrusion. I don't see why, as you say, it can't be, and as Lynn said, moved around the corner and just duck it under the window. It won't necessarily, interfere with view. Basically, from what I saw when prowling in the backyard, if they look out the back window, they see the outdoor grill, and chimney and everything like that. And as long as that view is not blocked, they can still watch if there are people out there or something else like that. I think it's really an intrusion that's not necessarily the thing to do. And moving it around the corner, even though one of the criteria where you stated it's the most economical to place it there, but moving it 15 feet or 10 feet around the corner, basically, the expense would be negligible to do that. Just my opinion.
That's correct. Wouldn't be a huge cost difference to move it over there, but I think the main problem we're coming up against is that the generator would have to be elevated, and you kind of see where the band board is on the house. That's really where the deck of the generator stand would have to be.
Is there a requirement for the height off the ground the generator must be?
Well, there's a flood zone requirement.
Excuse me?
There's
Flood
a
zone.
flood zone requirement.
So which would be how many feet?
It would be, relatively speaking, within a foot or two of where the band on the house is now. So
if they dropped it a foot or two down below the band, it would still fit in below the window.
I'd have to check the flood zone, but I believe they would make it, the band of the house and the band of the generator stand would be pretty close to the same height, and when you screen around the generator, you're putting a 3-foot wall, around it. So, I mean, it would block some portion of that view out of the window if we were to put it there.
Window appears to be about 2.5 feet above the band as it sits, from what I can see, or 2 feet above the band. So if they could drop it to the bottom of the household band, then the 3-foot generator would fit in easily and not block the window at all.
Possibly.
I think the loss of perhaps, 6 inches of viewing out the bottom of a window, which somebody basically only looks at if they're on their knees looking out the window. If they're standing, they're looking out usually the top part of a window, not the bottom. I don't see any obstruction, and I think that more than improves on the situation rather than sticking it close to the sidewall where there really is no room at all. I understand it's a narrow lot and there are constraints, but they've got a lot of depth to that lot. And I think they should use the depth rather than request a adjustment to reduce the side by an even further amount.
Okay, understood.
I have lots of questions, so bear with me
Okay.
here. For staff response under A, you guys said that the existing home structure and elevated design severely limits the options for placing the generator that maintains necessary distance from structure itself, especially in the side yard setting. The thing that I'm going to dispute on this is that I'd probably say about 70% of the houses on Kiowa are in a flood zone, and we all have to be elevated within that flood zone stake, is that what you would call it, within the requirements? So it's not really an extraordinary or exceptional condition, which could have us say no to that. And the other one was, you also talked about how these conditions on B do not apply to other properties. And I would beg to differ on that, because I think that the conditions are similar to a lot of properties on Kiowa, especially when I drove in, well, when I parked in the street and I walked up. I know we're not talking about 42, but you can see where their air conditioning unit is very, very close to, if not on the setback line, which is a totally different story. So if you look at that aesthetically, and it wasn't really trimmed out or anything, you're looking to do the exact same thing on your side of the house. And when I pulled in, aesthetically, that wasn't very appealing. And my concern is just that now we're going to have that on two houses on that street. Does that make sense? No? Yeah. Okay. And
Well,
then,
to me,
and then they had, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Then you had talked about frequent power outages associated with severe weather. I have a generator and mine's gone off once in 3 years. So just.
Okay.
And my last question is, seeing how you do not have to get approval from the ARB, how can you assure us that your landscaping is going to be done fully and to the proper heights? Like, as you look at this back house picture that we keep talking about where the porch is, you can see where the shrubbery goes up above the band, which is shrubberies are supposed to be exactly to the band. And then the other ones where you want to put the generator are barely 3 feet off the ground. So my concern is that they're not already putting enough screening around the side of the house. What's the assurance that it's going to be done if we approve a variance for that generator?
Well, as Dan said, if we approve this, staff has requested a condition
Right.
that they submit for approval.
Correct. So anyway, those are.
Yeah, and I would just add that the plantings that we would be putting in, or the homeowner would be putting in around this, if it were approved, would be tall enough to come up to the band and adequately screen the equipment.
Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain any motions anyone would care to make.
make a motion, we deny the request. I think it should go back.
Based on which criterion?
This criterion that putting it as an intrusion into the 10-foot setback is a burden to the future use of the other property next door, which may be subdivided off from the current ownership, common ownership, or semi-common ownership.
Is there a second for that motion?
Frank, I'm sorry, I could not hear what was being said.
You want to repeat that, Larry?
I'll try. I think
Into the
that,
microphone.
okay, I think that moving the generator to the side is an intrusion in an already narrow 10-foot setback. And I look to the future where the other lot will be separated and owned by a disinterested party, at which point it will be intruding to some degree into the adjacent lot. And I think if it were a 15 or a 20-foot setback, there'd be more flexibility. But with a 10-foot setback and you're cutting into it basically 30%, I think that's significant. On that basis, I say I disagree. It should not
So
be
it's a
done.
motion to deny.
A motion to deny.
Is there a second for that? Lynn indicates that she's seconding the motion. Further discussion? I don't know. To me, this is a question of whether that position under that window is viable versus a fairly small incursion into the setback.
The flip side to that, Frank, is if we look at what we're supposed to say, if he doesn't meet any of the criteria, if he doesn't meet all of the criteria, then we're supposed to decline it.
And it doesn't meet all
And it
the,
doesn't meet all the criteria. It doesn't meet A, and it doesn't meet B. And on G, it says pre-existing factors limiting the placement, existing dwelling, lot size, necessary utility clearances. I'm not sure what clearances they're talking about because I think they're all underground.
No, I think they're speaking about talking about the clearance for the generator off of the building. It has to be, I think, 14 inches off of the side of the building.
Okay. So I would say A and B would be the two things that I would say they don't meet, period, in my opinion.
Further discussion?
I also don't think it meets C, because putting it in the back versus putting it on the side does not make it an unserviceable location.
Anything else? Okay, a yes vote indicates that we will deny the request for a variance. A no vote indicates. That's what a yes vote indicates. I'll leave it at that. Jay,
No.
Morris,
No.
Larry,
Yes.
Lynn, Phil,
No.
and Frank, no. So the motion to deny is defeated. Is there?
Isn't it 3 and 3?
No.
4-2.
Oh, 4-2.
It's
4-2. Okay, all right.
Would anyone care to make a motion to approve?
I'll make
So
a motion
moved.
to approve along with the criteria that the landscaping plan be submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion that's approved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes, if it does not meet 3 of the criteria, how can we approve it? John?
For purposes of the criteria, the board has discretion in evaluating that criteria. To date, the first vote that you placed to deny outlined those criteria, then I would outline that the reverse of that is the ability to support that the criteria have been met. And so the second vote is saying that the criteria have been met.
Several meetings ago, I pointed out that one of the criteria was not met. And I was told at the meeting, I don't remember which case, that I had to rescind my decision that it did not meet the criteria for us to pass as a vote.
So as a board collectively, you're making that decision. So individually, you may have agreed or disagreed that one of the criteria may have not been met, but as a collective unit, you're agreeing that the criteria are being met. Yeah.
Further discussion? Okay, this time a yes vote is to approve the request for a variance. Jay,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larry,
No?
Lynn,
No.
Phil,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, the vote is 4-2. The request for a variance is approved. It's on the fact that the majority of the board believes that this is a reasonable problem. That's the end of this particular case. John, you have other issues to discuss?
No issues. We will have a January meeting right, right. Maybe January. But I just wanted to come as on behalf of staff to officially thank Miss Lynn
Yeah,
O'Leary for her
acknowledge.
time here.
Big zero.
So I beat you guys to it from staff. Thank you for your service. And good luck on your future endeavors. Maybe you'll be serving elsewhere on your new, on the lake. So
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Lynn. Enjoy those grandchildren.
John is welcome to go visit her house.
Happy holidays to all and a happy new year.
Thank you. Oh, one more thing, John. When I was at the city council meeting, I did notice that food was provided in the back room. Can I put in my request again? This is the fourth year I'm
We'll
doing
stay.
it. So
Candy.
if you guys begin to extend your meetings longer than 2 hours, then we'll
I
consider
think
it.
the fact that you waited to start providing food till after Lynn left is evil.
Thanks, everyone. Meeting adjourned.